good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where on the planet you are. And welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, afternoon edition. It's Q4 crunch time, and this 2-3 days a week on the road turned into 5-6 days on the road, training, heavy duty schedule the whole week. So you got to do what you got to do. Just like the car business is resilient, we have to be resilient with it. And every week I bring on the experts that share with us what they do to help you get better in your stores. And this week is no exception. I've got Ben Ayed from AutoService Ai. Ben and I go back a few years, and he's got a pretty rich history beyond what I even knew. So, hey, Ben, welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you, Paul. It's great. It's an honor to be in your show for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your background. Something I saw in your history of two-factor authentication.
About 8 years ago, I invented and patented. I actually did have a company in security and cybersecurity. We did a lot of work with Citibank, AMAC Pharmaceutical, Lowell Police. We invented the current two-factor authentication that Google is using. That thing, I think, by 2012, 2014, during that time, we were actually proposing, but it was a much bigger solution that covers what you call online and offline security, as well as physical and logical. So Google implemented a piece of it. It's in my patents. Similarly, Apple implemented a piece of it with the Apple Watch and how you log into the MacBook. So all that fits in my vision of the world of frictionless security, frictionless experience. As a consumer, I should not be typing 6 digits every time I want to log in. How silly that is, right?
Yeah.
As a customer of a dealership, I should not be calling somebody and them not answering me. I mean, same thing. Like these things should not happen. When I came to this country, it was the premise of customer is king, of the most beautiful experiences, of service. And I got annoyed with a lot of things that I didn't accept, and they keep on working me. And when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, what is how it's gonna be?
What's interesting is that it's a problem that affects not just car dealerships. It's a problem that affects all businesses. If you have customers and you're online, or even if you're not online, you could have a sign on your building. But a lot of those calls go mismanaged. I don't know what the stat is, but I believe it's a large percentage of calls get mishandled. They're either dropped calls or everybody's favorite, the multiple transfer shuffle. And each person that picks up the line is less enthused than the previous one because it's not their call. They don't want to be bothered with it. In the meantime, the customer's re-explaining their whole situation. And guess what? By about the second or third time they're re-explaining it, they're done. And I had even, like I said, it's not just online. There was a plumber in my area. I needed a pipe sweated in. Okay. Look, it's not in my wheelhouse per se, but I'll learn anything if I have to. So I literally went to the plumber's supply place. They were closed. There was a phone number on a board on the wall. All right. They took the time to put that on the wall. I called that number. There was no answering machine. There was no voicemail. And guess what? They never called back. And I'm a guy that if I can't get the answer within 10 minutes, I'm figuring it out myself. You learned that when I was looking for a logo, you were on vacation. Like, I can't wait for them to get back to the office. So I think in 10 minutes I had it done, and some other examples. But it's a stupid amount of money that gets lost. Oh, we got Larry Feldman says, good afternoon, gentlemen. And Peter Smith, good day, gentlemen. Welcome. So
yeah,
I
think we're up to a problem that's aggravating, and that's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And it is called hiring and talent pool, right? It's shrinking. With COVID, a lot of people left the workforce. A lot of immigrants don't come to the U.S. anymore. every single day there's 12,000 retirees. Okay, there's something that's called the gig economy, right? People now, leaving the 8 or 7 to 7 jobs, and they driving 1 hour to get to the job, driving an hour back home. They just rather go lease a car and go do the Uber and deliver food and all those things, right? If you're a technician, you learn the skills, or you do mobility services. What's your next step, right? I mean, you're just gonna have an independent license. There's so much shortage and so many bad experiences to go around that if you just put your number on your car, people will call you, and God knows how many people need you. I'm surprised now that a lot of independent dealerships are working, like having like a great day. One of them I'm talking to, they make $1 million a month, $1,000 per auto, and they're saying that's because we answer all phones. We're helping them. They're doing a great job, but it's their philosophy. They're saying, well, people call the dealers don't want to answer the phone. They call us. We make the $1 million a month. So yeah, it's painful to see these things. I think there's obviously if you're a dealership, you have to staff for so many sales, service, parts. Service is usually not your first thing. I always tell dealers that you're a subscription business. You're selling maybe 1,000 cars a month or a year, or maybe 10,000 cars a year, but you're selling them for a year, 2, 10 years, 20 years, right? After 20 years, you have like 50,000 cars on the road. Sometimes you have 100,000 cars. Those people are your customers. They come in and they're claiming their subscriptions. They want service with you, right? But I mean, the dealers, they just want to do more marketing, sell more cars, and put more cars on the road, and they want to forget about the service. Somehow it's too complicated for them.
And that's the easiest part. Right? Once they've entrusted you with $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, the rest is really simple. But yet that's where a lot of the balls get dropped.
Yes.
I thought it was kind of cool. I called that one number you sent me, and it was after hours, and the dealer actually called me back to follow up on it.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the idea that we're trying to provide is basically what we call guaranteed service. Okay. People, you're going to have people, sometimes they're not going to be there. In fact, we fall sick 17% more than before because, hey, we start sneezing something. Oh, maybe it's COVID, let's go to the doctor. So people, in the past, a lot of them didn't go to the doctor. A lot of them showed up, they wanted to do the right thing, do the work. Now everybody is a little bit more careful. And it turns out that it's 17%, more people that go to the doctor now. What happens is you have 100 people. Now that same team is worth 83 people in FTE, in work hours, right? There's a lot of them, obviously you're not going to be there, right? But the idea of having these risks, having sometimes, we went through a pandemic, people sometimes leave, you have retention that's much shorter, the average retention now maybe 6 months, sometimes less with dealers. So the idea is, how do you shield your customers, and how do you make sure that you have high retention rate of those customers, like you never disappoint a customer. I mean, I worked at Amazon. I spent 2 years slaving for Amazon, and I tell you, they make us work days, nights, and weekends. I literally destroyed it there. But when I came out of it and started reflecting on it, it is such a different school of thought and of doing things that you feel. What I feel like I was during those 2 years, I was on another planet. Okay, the customer experience or customer obsession, when they say we're customer obsessed, is at a different level. There's no we're doing our best. There's no hey, sorry. There's no chance for escalations. I mean, it's all about guaranteed experience. It's all about nothing falls through the cracks. If you ever sent one email to jeff@amazon.com and you say, you know what, I bought this thing, you come to my home, I'm pissed off with this or that, the whole department will shut off for a day or 2 or 3, and there's going to be a review of what happened to this customer. So what Jeff does, or his team does, they send a question mark to the department, and they say, just question mark, and they put the customer complaint. And the whole department must do a full investigation. We call COE, I forgot what that stands for. We do the 5 whys, the why, if the why, or the why, whatever it is, and then we have to come back with, who's responsible, why, what are, steps to make sure this thing never happens again. And basically, it's so many hours we'd invest in every little thing. Granted, this thing doesn't happen a lot, but if it happens, it's a big, serious thing. So we literally don't screw up with customers. I remember during those days, we probably were getting maybe 1 million calls a day. I don't think we ever, dropped a call. I'd assume I was senior product manager there. If you dropped a call, probably somebody get fired. That's how serious it is that we take every single customer, and that's why they have super, super high retention rate of their customers. I don't know anybody that said I shopped at Amazon, I didn't go back to Amazon, right?
You're locked in.
So, that's the idea, is you get one customer, you keep him, you add more customers, you keep him, you add more customers. With dealers, every time you go to the for service, you have less chance of going back, and that's what you're trying to fix, right?
Right.
Like there's so many loose ends, and so many bad systems, bad habits. People got used to, hey, sorry, we did our best, and they got used to escalations. I ask dealers now, how many hours you spend on escalations, and they say it's 5 hours for GM a week, 5 hours for service director a week. Those are 10 hours, working on escalations. Okay. Maybe you should do more studies, but this is last week. This is what you guys told me. I'm like, you guys are a business, or you're in the business of listening to customer complaints, and if you listen to customer, why should it be every week the same thing? Maybe if you are Amazon, okay, it happened one in a lifetime and that's it. But having this thing as a habit of going on and on and on, and like, sorry, Mr. Customer, we're a human, and then it happens again, and sorry, Mr. Customer, we're human, it happens again. I'm like, what is this industry?
Well,
yeah.
I always believe that out of everything bad comes something good, right? Now, the 2 years that you spend on Amazon, that is priceless, because I have a friend that works for Amazon. He's been working for them, I'm going to say probably a couple of years also. And when I hear some of the horror stories, okay, about what's expected, okay, I'm thinking to myself, man, that's crazy. But the result is you're not going to screw up, right? I believe there are 3 basics to success, right? You need commitment. Without commitment, it doesn't go any further. So that's step number 1. Once you have the commitment, then you need a solid plan. Okay. If you have a good plan and everything's laid out so that nothing is left to chance, now you've got the building block. And the third one, that's the one that determines whether or not it goes any further. And that's relentless execution. Okay. Yeah. And I believe that's what you just described there. Because if something's not working, one of those 3 items that I just mentioned is off. But the type of relentless execution that they have, he looked me in the eye almost in terror. He says, no, you don't understand. We can't screw up. Yeah. Failure's not an option. Absolutely. We cannot screw up, right? Especially. So now when you look at what dealers spend, now pre-pandemic, I don't know what the number is now, but pre-pandemic, dealers were spending $20,000 to $30,000 a month to make the phone ring, because our ultimate goal is, yes, we wanted to go through the process, our digital retailing tools, but ultimately we want to have a conversation with these people. Yeah. And I don't know do you have stats on the number of dropped calls?
Oh, we go in and we eliminate all drop calls, but we see, anywhere from 1,500 calls to maybe 4,000 calls a month of missed calls that we get. Yeah.
4,000.
Yeah. We it fluctuates, because maybe sometimes they lose personnel, but we did, we had some dealers that we were doing 1,500 calls, and all of a sudden they peak out and they go like 3,000, 4,000 calls a month. Yeah.
And those are typically calls that don't come back.
Well, I mean, with our service, the funny thing is with our service, we basically, sometimes the teams become more diligent because we expose those missed calls. I mean, I did have one time a GM of a Lithia store calling me and say, why are my team saying you're a liar? And say, why? He said, well, you said you captured 1,500 missed calls. We don't miss calls. And I said, sir, I'm going to walk you through every one of them. I'm going to show you out of these 1,500. We booked about 500 bookings, and they are in your system. They're actually signed by AutoService Ai, and I went and showed them every one of them. And after that, he believed me, because his team, obviously he had questioning his team and say, no, we don't miss calls. They're a liar. So we have that, and then a lot of those teams start missing less because there's visibility over them, and they know that they're being measured and all that stuff. And then sometimes,
wait a minute. Are you suggesting that the A word, accountability?
Yes, totally. So yeah, accountability, measurement, exposing those things. I mean, the good thing is we don't leave customer to chances. So we kind of, in our model, these are real-time systems. When you call a customer, it's not like when you're going on chatbot. It's not like you're sending an email. You're expecting a real-time kind of experience. So a lot of more complicated kind of thing where you're talking to people, trying to understand them, all that stuff. And then we see, like, obviously where they're backup, or sometimes what we're doing right now, we're more the front, because we're actually classifying the calls so we don't jam their limited resources with nonsense calls. Okay, so generally 40-50% of the calls are for status, right? And then less you actually are able to filter the calls up front and try to talk to the customer and send what he's trying to call about, then you're gonna jam your people. And well, in service department, the calls that take the longest time are the status. And the calls that have $0 with them is the status. So guess what happens if you let all the calls go to your people? They're going to be busy doing really nothing, chasing status calls. And then you're going to get those customers that really need the help, and nobody on the other end to help them, because you have 10 advisors. They're going to be chasing status, right? If 40-50% of the calls are status, and they take longer, they're gonna monopolize all the calls, right? So now what we're trying to do, we're trying to kind of filter, the status up front, maybe serve it with AI. We're trying to actually, the other piece where you see the advisors and even sales and stuff losing a lot of time is when a call comes in, most of the customers want to talk to a person. And then with the reception or the IDR, we send them on a hunt group. And then the hunt group will ring. If you are a service guy or advisor who's trying to do the right thing, you're going to try to help that customer. Guess what your chances are? Like 4 out of those 5 times you're going to pick up the phone is not going to be for you. You're going to end up looking up that customer in the system. You're going to find, his Tony's customer usually is for the older advisors, right? And you're going to end up chasing, looking for Tony. The customer, meanwhile, be ending, wait, and then you're gonna come back to the customer and say, sorry, I couldn't find Tony. Let me send you to his voicemail. Now, why, as an advisor, would you do that kind of work, right? Every time you're on your phone, you're losing money. You'd rather be doing outbound calls than answering those phones, and 4 out of 5 calls are not for you.
Right.
So that situation and those bad telephony and those systems that lack the intelligence, they cause a bad situation for customer, for advisors, and they cause a defeatist kind of situation where nobody can get help at all, because the advisor are going to refuse to answer calls if they're going to lose money on every call, right? It's not for them.
So let me go back to something you just said now. So the calls that are coming in, they're filtered in such a way to direct the right call to the right person?
Absolutely. You need, to be successful at this, right? And in the logic of kind of limited resources, limited number of advisors, and, high minimum wage. And, obviously these guys are going to make good money and stuff, right? You need to kind of filter the status calls, have the AI kind of, answer them. The booking, you want to get, have the AI do as many of them as possible. And then when you send the rest of the calls to a person, you want to send it to the right person. In that case, the person on the other hand, because you want to create the incentive for the advisor to answer the phone, right?
Right.
Now, as an advisor, if every time I ring you, it's your customer or it's a new customer, you're going to care. You're going to jump on that call because there's money in it, you see? So that's the idea that we're creating, that kind of culture that you need to care for your customer, but we're not going to give you bad data. We're, as a dealership, we're not going to send you bad calls. We're going to send you the right calls. Now, I mean, with the human intention to always excel and do great service, and with the right telephony that has the intelligence to drive things to the right people, everybody can excel. Not only that, as an advisor, if you cannot answer your phone, we're going to give you a Slack. Your executive assistant comes up, and we'll give you another 30 minutes. We'll tell the customer you're a little bit busy. Hey, your advisor get back to you. And if you don't get back within 30 minutes, we're going to get your other advisors to help you, and then the manager. So there's an escalation process. But the idea is things get filtered, status, let's get rid of them, or not get rid of them, but give the customer the right information.
Manage them.
And ask him if you still want to talk to an advisor, right? If it's booking, let's book him. Don't wait for any help on that. And if they want to talk to advisor, make sure you send the right person. If that advisor is not available, give him a Slack, give him 30 minutes or 15 minutes. If it's still not available because it could be his day off, then get him help from his colleagues. And if the colleagues don't act, then get it to the manager. You see, so everything is bulletproof. It's very simple to understand, and it's the right way to act and to think about customers. What we're seeing now is we see a retention rate of 107%.
Now, here's what I want to look at it. So I'm always the one that believes I'd rather suck at firefighting, but I'd rather have a good fire prevention strategy in place. So if we're doing more with less today, there's not a store I walk into that's not complaining they don't have enough people. And that goes for advisors, that goes for technicians, you name it, they don't have enough of them. All right. So if we know that some of the bottlenecks are status calls, that's huge. Okay. That's highly preventable if we just plan things out properly. Yeah. Another problem I see in some stores is that they don't seem to promote any kind of scheduler. And as a result, on top of compounding the status calls problem, you have people that just show up. So now you've got people standing in front of you. You've got status calls you need to deal with. And guess what? The person that's on the phone for the status call, they think they're the most important because they dropped their car off earlier.
Yes.
The person that's standing in front of you, guess what? They think they're the most important because they're standing in front of you. So now if you've got a system where you can channel your appointments in a better way, okay, spreading them out where it makes sense, and now you've got your status calls better managed, well, you're going to be able to do more with less people.
Absolutely. We actually, we basically literally reduced more than 50% of the calls, and help the customer. It's much faster and all that stuff. But the idea then is your advisor is going to get 50% less calls, which is going to make them a lot more available to the people that need high touch, right? They always have the people that need high touch, have big jobs, they need quotations, that are complicated, all that stuff. So that's really where, and then those advisors, you're going to retain them more. What we're seeing also is a high retention level with advisors because they don't want the phone ringing. They don't want to be sent silly questions and chase status. That's not really what they're there for, right? They want to solve problems, right? They want to come back with customer solutions, how to fix that, how to do that. What's the price for this? What's the best way to solve this? Oh, there is, how to finance it. There's things where they can really feel that they bring, help to the customer. Status is you're not bringing any help. It's information, right? So a lot of those things, or even acting as a receptionist for a customer and try to guide them the right person, you're not adding any value to that value chain. So we're making really, every person, feel that is important and his time is used the right way.
Are we getting back to more phone calls then? I mean, for a while it had been people were going straight online and nobody wanted to call, but are we getting back to the more phone calls?
So phone calls for service is, when I was at X time, the online never exceeded about 15%, and it was across 1,700 dealers. Okay, maybe now
15%.
And then out of those 15%, okay, actually maybe there was a little bit more, but I'm gonna explain to you what happens with the online. On the online, you have 72% drop rate. Okay, so we end up with no more than 15%. So to begin with, right, most of the customers when they call for service is when they're in their car, and that's when they realize that they have a flat, they have an engine light, this and that, and usually. It's not like you're gonna go to your computer or pull up your laptop or go to your phone and do 10 steps to get to your dealership, right? So it's usually I need to pick up the phone, I need to call them. So that the psychology between a person in distress is always like the solution: pick up the phone and call. You're not gonna do, if you can do it in one step, you're not gonna go 10 steps, right?
Right.
Then you have those people that want to do maintenance on Sunday and all that stuff, or maybe like my wife, like she tries to call the dealer from her car, and she's on Bluetooth, and they tell her to press 2 for service, and she's like, "Oh my God, I don't see a 2," and she was never able to do it, right? So she stopped doing it. She comes home, she calls the dealer, and they say, "Sorry, we're closed for the business. Please call on Monday." Then what happens? And Monday she goes to work. During her break, she calls the dealer at 10 a.m. and nobody answers her.
Right.
She's stuck in this loop over and over. So she came last Sunday. She's like, now I found a way. I'm going to do it through the app. And she's like, this thing is better than your system. I'm going to show you. And she spent believe me, a good 10 minutes doing it over and over. She brought it to me, and the page was blocking. And then she was able to do it after 10 minutes, maybe after trying it like 5-6 times. But what we are finding at X time, when I was there, I was product director at X time, was that most people don't have the attention span to go through the booking process online. Okay, it takes about 6-page transition, and there's about 15 clicks on next and previous, next, select service, choose service. There's so many buttons that a normal human, it doesn't have the patience to do it. He's going to be interrupted. He's going to lose. He's going to get frustrated. I counted, you have to type 50 characters. You have to click 15 times to book an appointment on X time, okay? Whereas you compare that with when you pick up the phone, I mean, obviously, traditionally nobody answers you, but with the AI, is like it already knows you by name, it knows your car. Oh, it asks you what's your service, would you like to wait or drop off or loaner, and then, pick a time, and you're done, right? So basically 3-4 questions and you're done. It's all about psychology, right? How do you make it so easy for a customer to get what he wants, right?
Right.
And online,
let me ask you a question. You said a large percentage of those online appointments dropped and there was very low utilization. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Are you saying most of those were dropped because there are too many steps, or is it the fact that low utilization was? Because I find most people don't even promote it.
Well, it's 2 ways. I think they used to promote it a while back, and they probably stopped because they were never able to go above that 15-20%, right? And then the customers, a lot of them, they tried it once, they never go back, right? You tried, you get stuck, you can't finish. Remember, there's 72% drop rate. Those 72% next time, they're never ever gonna try it again. If they failed the first time, they got frustrated. Why do they go again, right? They just pick up the call. So a lot of the calls also are people who try to go online and they fail, and they pick up the phone and call. And I know I have some competition. What they do is when you call and nobody answers you, they send you a text and say, "Here's the booking link," and they send you back to X time and say, "Go book yourself." I'm like, oh my God.
Hey, go book yourself.
And you're like, the reason I'm calling is because I couldn't book myself. So, so there's so many patch solutions and so many dead things offered to customers. It's crazy. And this company, they went and got 200 dealers, and they just said, well, guys, I'm missing a lot of calls. Let's go and send the link again to customers.
So let me ask you this: how long does it take, and do we have efficiency measurements?
With our system, it takes.
And there's a follow-up to that.
Yeah, well, it takes about 65 seconds to book an appointment.
Okay.
For the majority. Now, a lot of customers, they want, next Friday, and then they want to, afternoon, they go next, and they choose, and they spend, they want to, so, but that's not the 80%. The 80% is very straightforward. You offer them some openings, like, okay, I'll take it. But in general, it's 60 seconds, and you're done. And then there's the edge scenario where it could be 2 or 3. Some of them enjoy maybe kind of exploring. Hey, what about next month? And what about a month after? And they start talking to it and trying to test it. But yeah, I mean,
those are the people that want their nav system to talk to them through the entire trip, even if there's no turn up ahead.
Absolutely. And then it's not just the booking, right? It's the receptionist. I tell dealers the problem starts with the receptionist. Because today, I would say 70% of the calls to a dealership are for service, 70 plus, okay? And those customers are usually in their car. And when they're calling and you tell them press a 2 for service, that's a non-starter for them. It's illegal in California and many states to go to your phone and play with it. When you're on Bluetooth, they don't display number 2 for you. They just say press a 2. And it's like, where is the 2? A lot of people have their kids in the back, and they worry about that. So, that's really, to me, that's also a problem. And then on the other hand, you have a receptionist. The poor lady is being hammered by phone. She's, okay, now, hold on a minute, and she puts you in the wait, and hold on a minute, and then she has to go back, and when she's back, somebody's calling, and she's struggling with these things. When she goes on a buyer break, she's worried about losing calls. That's not the right way to put people, or you're setting them for failure, and we don't want that, right? Same with the BDC. I mean, a lot of them are the poor ladies. On Monday morning, you get 2 times plus the phone, the number of phone calls.
Yeah.
And you have 5 people. Okay, they can take a peak of 5 calls, but then on Monday morning, you get 10 calls at once. Or during next 10 minutes, right? And all of them on the phone. The 11th caller. Actually, if you're 5, you get 10 calls in 10 minutes. You're only going to answer 5, going to drop 5. I always say Monday morning, you're actually usually losing more than 50%. And it doesn't matter if it's your BDC or if it's outsourced BDC. Outsourced BDC is worse, because they get calls from 10 dealers, and it's the same. They reach a peak. All of them get 2 or 3 times the number of calls, and they all like struggling, and they cannot catch, and they're blasé now. They're used to, okay, we'll just catch whatever we can, and we let the other ones just, God knows what happens to them, right? So we don't like that. We really want to bring the diligence of Amazon and thinking about what's going to happen to the last customer, how you can make sure that nobody ever falls through the cracks, ever. Yeah. And it's like I say, like it's the receptionist, it's the booking, it's the, how you talk to an advisor, the voicemail problem, how you can make sure that there's nobody ever getting stuck in a voicemail. So, and all that generates, good experiences to customers, generates what we call high retention rates. My customers are running on 107% retention rate. So not only they're serving 100% of their customers, they're also getting customers from the other dealers. Because what happens on a Monday morning? You call this dealer, you still need to go to work. Your car is broken, you need, this or that, you need somebody to tell you if you can drive it, whatever, right? You're calling the dealer, your dealer doesn't, you start with your dealer, it doesn't answer you. Then you start calling next one, until the first one that answers you. The dealers that have our systems that are obsessed with customers that answer every time they calls, you're gonna get there sooner or later. You're gonna get 2 or 3 dealers on a Monday morning. Those you're not gonna be answering. You're gonna fall on these ones that guarantee the experience, and we're gonna answer you with the people over the AI, and we're gonna invite you. You're gonna bring your car there. Once you bring your car there, next time you're gonna stay with them. You see, you become a customer.
Ideally, I mean, people just want to get it done, right?
Yes.
But now, what do you say to the dealer? And some of them are out there that say, well, I want a human being answering the phone, but that's not something realistic for around the clock.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm all for it. Okay, if you want a human being, I mean, if you want to be conservative, right, you can have your team, but you always have to have a backup. Okay, so and the backup cannot be a BDC, outsourced BDC, because when your people are going to be overloaded, the outsourced BDC is also going to be overloaded. Okay, so you need a backup of a different nature. So the AI actually can be a really good backup to your team. Okay. But know that once you do that, if you have your people first, right, they're going to be clogged with status calls and nonsense calls because you have a classifier. You don't have a way to send them intelligent or calls that really need their attention. You're going to send them the bulk of the calls. 80% of the calls and everything tend to be, low quality calls, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're going to bog them there. And then the good calls are going to come to the AI as your backup, which is good for you. Okay. If you want to do the right thing, the best thing for your business and be able to grow, then you want the AI first, because then you want to, serve those customers. There are many customers that are, Y generation, Z generation. There are people that really want, just give me what I want. I don't want to talk to a person, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You get those, you get the easy ones. You reduce the call flow by 50% or so. And then the people that really need to talk to a person, as soon as they say, I need help, I need a person, whatever, we transfer them to the person. Guess what? At that point, your people are going to be free and are going to have higher chance of being available to take more calls. Because
now the people that want not necessarily to interact with anybody, unless I'm wrong, I think that's the largest demographic now. No.
I mean, yes, but also if you wanted a booking, right? Think of it. Yeah. If you want to talk to a person where it's going to take you at least 3 to 5 minutes. What's your phone number? What's your address? This and that. Or to the AI that says, hello, Mr. Meijer. I have to book for your 2013 Corolla. She already knows you and knows your car, knows your life, and knows a lot about you more than you could imagine, right? And
more personalized,
exactly.
In an impersonal kind of way.
Exactly. And I mean, that's the idea, because if people, they don't have the time, they're so clogged and they don't have the time to go look you up and all that stuff. The AI can do it very fast in that scale. You send 100 calls, you can give a personalized experience to every person. And then she's never going to ask you for your phone number again. Never going to ask you for what's your car. I mean, she'll confirm this and that. It's like, yeah, you call me about this car. And most of the customers, yes, right? Hey, are you Mr. Raider? And they're like, yes. So like, instead of, asking you questions, she's there to help you. Okay. And that's how the AI and how the intelligent systems of the future, they work out of empathy. How we tell the customer, we show him that we're doing the work for you. We're working for you, Mr. Customer. We dug up, we found your car, we found your name. It's showing that you're doing the work, and that's how you gain the trust from customers. And this is much better than you call an outsourced BDC and it's like, hey, let me switch systems. Phone number, okay. Oh, I found you. I didn't find you, and they start asking these questions and ask you to repeat yourself. We listen to many calls, and these guys that are working 10 systems, you can imagine. I mean, they're not there to help that one customer. They're all over the place, right?
I'm surprised there's not a lot of comments, because this is a problem that everybody's having. Either people are embarrassed to talk about it or something different.
Yeah.
Now, so 70% are service. So that leaves the other 30%. You've got sales opportunities and parts. So talk to me about how some of that plays out.
So for parts is obvious. I mean, it's for wholesale parts, or for it can do the status and relieve those people a little bit of those calls and reduce those nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but the calls that don't have revenue generation, that usually stand in front of the ones that have the revenue, right? So you want to clear them out, right? It can also do some ordering for parts. We haven't done it yet, and we're waiting for a customer that's very well organized to do it, but we have the capability. For sales, I love this. It's about what we've noticed, right? The stats show that if you call for sales, you're interested in a car, and if somebody doesn't pick up the phone, 80% of those just jump in to go and move on to another dealer. Okay. There's very low retention in those customers that want a specific car. They call the dealer. If they're shopping for a BMW, i325, and you don't answer the phone, they have a list of other dealers this is going to go to, right? So then the logic is, what we do with sales is we don't want to be intrusive at all. It's the logic of if your salespeople are all busy, usually happens, I would say, Sunday at 10 a.m., right? Then the AI will come and will try to help that customer and engage him so he doesn't run to the next dealer. So we'll offer him, if he's interested to check a car, we'll look in the CRM, we'll offer him if he wants to book a test drive, or if he wants, he's got some other concern. And then really that helps us qualify this lead a little bit more and put it in the CRM, and then make sure somebody gets back to him as soon as they free up. But meanwhile, it's much better than okay, nobody answers, you go to voicemail, and then
I love that one. Nobody ever calls back from the voicemail, ever.
Yeah. So
nobody even checks it.
Absolutely. So guess how much time it takes for a customer to work with our system? Our voice, per voicemail, it takes them about 10 seconds. So the traditional way, it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Send, get back to the customer. We do it. My customer, they do it. We give them the tools. They do it in 10 seconds. That's also another invention that we're providing our current customers. It's actually patent pending, and it's really transformative for dealers.
So now the setup, is it to the individual store, or is there a setup, like a standardized setup that people pick from as in a menu?
Yeah, we have a menu. But so we already have a lot of features, a lot of personalizations. We have several hundred dealers, so they pick this or this or that. A lot of times it's as simple as that. And then from time to time, we see dealers that have some special needs. We see languages, so we help deal with French, help dealers with Spanish. We have dealers that have very special rules, like don't offer a loaner if he has not been there before, doesn't have 2 ROs. So a lot of these things that they already do with their team. What our philosophy is, you don't change your process. Your process means it's something that's you're doing because you're resolving some issues, or it's making you money, or that's the best way for you to operate, for your culture, for your team, for your customers. And
are there limits? Are there limits on the languages? Because what I'm learning is that in certain markets, there's a pretty decent percentage of the population that speaks Mandarin Chinese.
Yeah, we are getting some demand. We don't have a limit on our side. It's more like the demand, because we prioritize features. We generally every customization we promise customer within 1 week it will be done, except languages, of course. And then usually we deliver customization within 24 hours. That's been our average.
Wow, that's pretty strong, because I've seen a lot bigger companies go 5, 6, 7 weeks out.
Well, I used to work for Cox, right? Our delivery time for features is 6 months. So I hate that model. I know the root cause for those, and our company is completely different. We're trying to be we're doing the right thing. It's the Amazon way. We're not funded by PE. We're not doing the wrong things. We don't book, like there are many companies that try to offer what we offer. But guess what? If you bring a used car to your dealership, they're gonna book it as the main brand. Okay. If a customer wants more than one service code, they're gonna book them for one service code. So they really, really mess up your system because they're not built the right way. So you ask for an oil change and brakes, they book you for oil change. they send your car to the maintenance lane with a comment that says this car needs brakes. So once you're finished, you tell the customer car is finished. Oh, you have bad news for you. The brakes are done. The oil change is done. For the brakes, we need you to come another day, or we need to wait for you to wait 5 hours because we have to fit it in the main shop. And we don't do these kind of things. We have a solution that has been with dealers for 4.5 years. We take what we do very, very seriously, and it's done to precision and perfection. We actually, every day, we have a reviewer of all the conversations, even though we have almost all of our conversations spotless, but we still have somebody to always watch and make sure that, everything is fine, and so to see if there's any opportunity for us to continue refining more or learn better. But yeah, I mean, it is a science. We're skilled. We've been doing this for multiple years, 4.5 years. We believe that we're a talent agency. We're actually are the staffing or the staff of the future in a world where it's very hard to find talent and minimum wage and all this stuff. So what we're saying is, you need to have your team, and then you need to have an AI team, and the both of them working together can provide the experience that customer expects.
Dealers typically care about one thing, what's in it for them, period, right? Yes. And I always like to relate it into show me the money, right? So for instance, if sales calls are being missed, sales calls could be anywhere, depending on location, anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 per copy. That just evaporates. Okay, that's just on the sales side of things. On the service side of things, depending on where you are, how they're staffed, you're looking at either $300 per RO or as much as $600 per RO. And when you're talking about a magnitude of 1,500 plus phone calls a month, I mean, do the math. That's a crazy number. Now take it one step further. Do you have any studies on how it impacts current labor pool? So if we need 4 people, and the fact of the matter is either we can't afford 4 people or we can't find 4 people. Have you done any kind of studies that say, hey, when implementing this system, we are able to do with 2 people what it used to take 4 people, or do you have any kind of numbers like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're not okay. We work really well with people. Okay.
Yeah.
We are not we don't eliminate jobs, but we
make more efficient.
And sometimes you may have to reposition. For example, a receptionist, to me, that's a job that's frustrating, that's very high turnover, that costs a lot of money. We have AI does a perfect job. Yeah. A BDC, if it's external, Morgan Group, for example, they found we save them on average $11,000 per month per store from BDC costs. I don't believe in BDCs, in external BDC. I don't believe in it. I don't believe you should send your customer to an external company. Okay, period. I literally think that's not to be done with your customers. So if you have an internal BDC, then it's great. But and even so, I think it's better to structure it as offsite advisors and marketing, as opposed to BDC after COVID. They've been kind of mostly like answering the phone for advisors, which I'm not. I think it needs to be rethought a little bit because that's not what it used to be. But we literally if you have BD, like say an in-house BDC, and let's say you had 5 people, you literally only need 1 person, but the other ones you want them to do outbound calls. That's why I say you need 1 that they call offsite advisor or something that needs to be trained like advisor, part of the advisor team, and then the other 4 I would call the marketing department, and they'd be focused on outbound calls, on P&L, how much money you're going to bring.
Huge.
Yeah.
Now, I have to disagree with you in one small area. I agree, for the most part, an outside BDC is probably not the best source. But out of all these outside BDC companies, there are some very few that do it very well. Yes. But But my issue, my interest is always, how can we make the dealer more efficient, right? Because even if you have an outside BDC that's doing a great job, they're not there around the clock. And I'm one of those nutcases. I work around the clock, right? So people will get emails from me at 2 in the morning sometimes, 3 in the morning sometimes. If I'm working and I need to get it out, I'm going to send it. I don't care what time it is. So that makes them more efficient.
Like if you had, remember I said you can have offsite advisors. So for me, if you have an outsourced BDC, it's more like an offsite advisor, right? But it needs to be somebody that's part of your team that can help your customers, okay? Or it needs to be somebody who's doing your marketing, and it's fine, right?
They know your store. They are an integral part of your business. They know your process. They know your people. They know your language. In that case, it does work. But this is a massive enhancement, what you're talking about here.
And regardless, if you have BDC or not, I think to me the AI as a utility is a necessary foundational utility for any dealership. I really see it in the numbers when I see dealers making like usually 6-figure income a month, and also attaining 107% retention rate. It's telling me customers, if you don't have it, you're going to lose customers to competition. So it's that idea of guaranteeing your customer experience. With the BDC, frankly speaking, Labor Day weekend, every one of my customers made at least $5,000, $10,000 from bookings. And that's why I'm saying, you can have outsourced BDC and all these things, but you always have to think about Christmas Day, New Year, after midnight, and why not? I mean, the technology is there, it's cheap, and you can provide a 24/7. Okay, you don't want those guys to go to the independent shops because that's what's happening today. You want them to stay with you.
So you could have literally 30 calls come in at the same time, and all of those 30 calls are handled efficiently. And I'm going to take it even one step further, right? We all talk about retention. But for the most part, nobody's doing a really good job with retention. And it's important to realize that when we keep these people in the cycle, okay, to keep coming back to us, that customer, regardless of where they purchased their car, is 5 times more likely to buy their next car from us.
Absolutely.
Because we've satisfied a need.
Absolutely. So we look at the lifetime value of a customer. Generally, it's about $500,000, which is a low ball of, if you have a customer, you want to make sure he doesn't run off the competition, that you'd save $500 million just by making sure the calls are answered. It is totally crazy.
That is just, that's insane. So now, just to go back for a second here, because something just popped into my head. When a status call comes in and the AI knows that person, that's all part of that same package.
Yes.
Right? Whereas there are stores right now today that are paying a large chunk of money to add that on to an already expensive piece of software to be able to know who's calling, so that the person then hopefully doesn't fumble and drop the ball. That's pretty mind-blowing.
So, I mean, granted, I mean, I see the status as more like if you had people in the wait room, you should theoretically be able to show them a status of their car, same as in the airport, the plane has landed or is in progress and, is going to land or is delayed. You need to be able to see those kind of things. Once you have those kind of, information that are kept in the system, then the AI can use it. And also say to those dealers that don't have it, because a lot of them say, oh, my technician doesn't want to do it, or my advisor, or this or that. I say, if you have a philosophy of everybody trying to be obsessed with customer and doing what's right with the customer, the technician would, if the technician knew that status is going to be shared with the customer, he's going to fill it with, open heart, and he'll be, willing to do the right thing for customers. Yeah. But if he's just sharing it for the advisor's sake, he's not going to do it for too long. Sooner or later he's going to say, come and see me, Mr. Advisor. I'll tell you the status. I'm not going to fill it for you, right? So the philosophy of being customer obsessed and telling everybody and linking everybody that's being done by your team, be it the advisor, the receptionist, the advisor, or the technician, and taking their action to something that the customer has a benefit with, is just going to drive people to do the right thing and put the right status, and your system to be rich, for you also to have the right analytics and be able to drive your business with data.
Now, I don't know if you already do this, or if this is in the pipeline, or if it even makes sense to you or not. But to your point about the status, like the airline, right? Is this software at all tied to any type of an in-store status board, or is there a plan for that?
I mean, there are companies that provide that. What we do is we go to the DMS or the schedule, wherever the information is available per dealer, and they tell us where it is, and we share it with the customer. Okay. We have the integrations with different DMSs and schedulers, so we're able to get the information and share it, because it's important with the customer, and it's also important for the dealers to be able to grow and have the right data. I mean, right now, if the stat is not accurate, how are they calculating the cost of that repair? I don't.
Right. So you integrate with how many different DMSs?
Oh, I would say 5 or so. Integrate with maybe 12 schedulers now.
So the big ones: Reynolds, CDK.
Yeah, Dealer Track. Yeah, with Techion.
Techion. Okay. So you cover a major portion of the market with those big players.
Yeah, or we have customers in all sorts of systems. Yeah.
We're talking full integration.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what some other companies do, what I refer to as part-time integration.
Oh no.
They have a username and a password that ends up expiring or gets kicked off the system, and then they've got to create yet another one, which ends up being too much work, and dealers get frustrated with that.
No,
and Frank says it talks to DMS systems. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry, the question was?
No, I said, does it? Michael Vandermark says yes. No, I said my question was a full integration, not like some companies, they try to get around, they try to get around paying the fee for the integration, and that ends up being short-lived and frustrating for the dealer personnel as well as the customer. So it's nice that you have full integration and that you cover the major players.
Well, we've been doing this for 4.5 years. We know what solutions work and what solutions don't work. We have hundreds of dealers, so on the technical side, we have the top engineers in the world. So this is not something we take as a joke. But we tell dealers, we focus on your customers. We make sure your customers are happy. We make sure that us and your team, always exceed your customer expectations. We're not in the game of chasing customers and trying to make them happy. We're in the game of exceeding their expectations all the time. Okay, all the time.
I talk about that in my training every single day. Always exceed their expectations.
And it's about
most others won't.
Predictability, accuracy, consistency. Never leave a customer behind. Always, help every single customer, and that's the logic we're in. We don't want to piss off any customer. And we have these systems in place, and it's a philosophy, and it's based on 3 big ideas. One is you really have to have the principle that you're guaranteeing customer experience. You have to write on your walls. People have to know why you're doing this. The number 2 is human and AI. Human alone will never cut it.
Right.
You'll be able to provide what consumers want. Consumers want 24/7 experience. They want, Christmas. They want to be able to call and ask for. So if whatever you're doing, if you don't have AI, you'll never be able to meet their expectations. The third one is constant measurement. You need to be on top of things. We have all these systems that give you warnings and give you where your market is going, where your experience is going. If before you know it, we're gonna tell you.
You're not the typical dealership conversation 3/4 into the month. Oh man, we're behind. We need to do this. We need to do that. So this is proactively making sure that you are on the trajectory that you want to be on to achieve the satisfaction that you want to achieve.
Your taken needs to be measured with a goal, and we need to make sure that you can see if you achieved it or not, or achieved what you're trying to do or not. And there's a lot, we save money on a lot of areas for dealers, and we get them to really be proactive. The thing is, we're trying to always exceed the customer experience, right? But we're doing it with a human, okay?
Right.
We need people, right? So we give you the dashboard. We tell you if if you have labor challenges, we see it, we feel it, and we tell you. And you say you're going red, you may need to hire somebody to make sure that we deliver on that principle, right?
Right.
That's why we start with principles, and then we do our part, and then we, with people, we understand there's bad times and good times. Sometimes people leave or change careers, and we understand that, but we need to give you the warnings, and we need to give you, the alerts so that and we need to also tell you when you need to staff, when you're overstaffed, all that stuff. If you need marketing, when you need to start, also when you need to stop marketing, because if your marketing starts working really well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to set the house on fire. We don't want you to do that. You're going to tell you it's red. You need to stop marketing or hire more people.
And there are so many facets to this that proactively looks and channels in the right areas. Wow, this is really one hell of a product you've come up with here. Yeah,
it's a philosophy. I mean, if I were at Amazon, I would be the least intelligent person in the crowd. They tell you that. They'd be beating on me every day.
Well, wow. This hour has come and gone in what seems like minutes. A lot of information to digest. If anybody has questions or would like to learn more, reach out to Ben, reach out to myself. If we're not connected already, please, we're open to connecting with people that are relevant to our businesses. So the links, we're all tagged in here. Definitely connect with us, send us a connection request, or any questions you have. It all starts with a phone call, right, Ben?
Absolutely. That's the lifeline of dealership business, and we need to make sure that that's really well taken care of.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ben. You've shared a lot of great stuff on here. To those watching live, thank you for supporting the show. To those watching on the replay, and a lot of people watch on the replay, thank you. Any questions that you have, please put them in the chat, and we'll be happy to get back to you with the answers on that. So with that, I wish everybody a safe and successful next week, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.